All right, 2006 997 convertible. The top on this one moves very slowly, and I'm going to replace the hydraulic rams on it today. First step is to get the convertible top in the service position. You'll know it's good when it gets to this position, doesn't go any further. Once you're back here, you see there's these two braided cords on either side. You just got to undo these. One on that side too. All you do is just push on it until it releases. It'll allow you to lift this one up. It folds over out of the way. So once we're in here, we can see the hydraulic arm that operates the top. Basically, this whole system runs on hydraulic fluid, and when the seals on these arms fail, there's not enough hydraulic pressure to move the top up and down, so the top moves very slowly. And you can actually hear it when you try to operate the top. You can hear hissing as if oil is escaping from the system. There's air, so it's not able to move the top properly. There's two arms. There's one on the driver's side and passengers. The other one, I'm going to remove both of them. So in order to gain access to all the components in here, this carpeting bit needs to be removed, which is just held on by these 4 clips. One's been removed already by the previous person who owned this. So once those clips are out, all you gotta do is just untuck it from all the edges. It's kind of tucked in around this seal right here. Okay, now that the carpet's off, we can see some of the inner workings of this mechanism here. And this right here is actually the reservoir which holds the hydraulic fluid, and you can see it's completely empty because all the fluid has leaked out from the rams. So these rams from the dealership are about $1,500 a piece, my cost, but there's a service on eBay where you can just ship your old ones in and they'll rebuild them for you, the pair for like $300, so that's what we're going to do. Now that we're at this stage, we're going to be disconnecting a lot of electrical components, so you better disconnect the battery. Here's the battery. Now we're going to need access to the reservoir, because you can see the lines that power the hydraulic rams actually feed off the bottom of this. We'll get a better view of it once I get it off, but they run from here all the way here to where the actual ram is, and they connect up to the ram here. So we'll have to undo this, get those nuts off, and they'll come off along with the arms here. So what I'll do first is remove the actual arms themselves, and I'll show you how they're held on. First, we have to remove these clips here, one here that hold this arm on. Then from there, there's two 13mm bolts, one here and one all the way down there. Have to reach that with a long ass wrench or something. I push the car back for better access, but since these are both the same on either side, I'm gonna see if I can access that deep nut through this speaker cover. So let me take this one off. You can just pry this off with a pry tool. I used a screwdriver. You shouldn't do that, but I'm really good at what I do, so it's okay. Now just a T20 screw up here. Okay, so once that's out, you just fold this down. Should be able to just remove this foam piece. Someone was in here before. So, and maybe we'll get a socket there. It'll probably be easier than going all the way from the back. So I'm glad I went that way, because even though I can't really get the socket through that hole, I can get it through here. You can see I have my wrench hooked up on that nut down there. The thing would focus. And I now have enough room when I go to crank this thing. You can see my hand poking through there. I have enough room to actually do this motion. So just undo this nut and you'll be good. So here's the next nut, much easier to access. So at this stage, you can see the ram is actually loose. You can almost take it off, but the next stage is to take off this arm, which is held in by these clips. So let's take those off. Doing these is pretty easy. You just gotta pry up on this and push down. Careful not to lose it. We can just remove this little arm here. Before you remove the hydraulic ram, keep a close track of where these lines are supposed to be positioned, so you don't mess that up later. Okay, best strategy I'd say is remove this lower part first. Get that out of the way. Then you can kind of twist it and get it out of position for the rest of it. If any of your lines get jammed up here, you can always free them from this access point. Now that this is freed up, we can move over to the other side. And it's the same process on this side too. Just start with the lower nut and move up. Side note that it's always very important to keep track of all of your hardware. Keep them all in a Ziploc bag or something so you keep track of them, don't lose them. It's also good to make a note on how this arm is positioned, because when you go to reinstall it, it could be a little bit tricky if you try to mix it up with the other one. So just looking at it visually and smelling it and feeling it, I can tell that this is the cylinder that failed because it's all covered in the hydraulic oil. And the other one actually looks pretty clean, but I'm going to have both rebuilt because, you know, if one failed at this stage, then it's probably likely the other one's going to fail soon too. All right, next step, as I mentioned earlier, is to remove this reservoir. And to do that, I think it's going to be these two nuts that hold it in, and this rubber grommet thing has to come out so we can get this upright. Then I can undo these from the bottom and get the lines freed from under this section here. Just to have more freedom to move around, I'm going to disconnect all these connectors. That way I can get this harness out of the way, and this one too. Oh, very easy. This one you just push it and pull. This one you push in the center. It should release by just lifting up. There we go. And do the same for the rest. I would use just a pry tool to get this whole clip off, but I'm working from home and I don't have access to all my tools, so that's out of the way. Just keep it tucked over there. Now we have a lot more access to this reservoir, so let's get to it. Remove these two 10mm nuts, and we slide this rubber piece back. See? And that drops it down. Next, I'll remove this entire bracket. That'll give us some room to pull this one all the way up so we can get it in the right position. This bottom one's a bit difficult to access with a socket, so just get a 10mm standard wrench and just open that one up. Okay, so with that bracket removed, I can twist this into a position where you can see what's going on with it. So the top set of lines goes to the driver's side and the bottom set goes to passenger. Red is for the left and blue for the right. So we're just going to reinstall them in the same order. And when they, you can see these copper crush washers here. When I send these in for a rebuild, they're going to send me a fresh set, so we're not going to reuse those. But you can see the reservoir is completely empty. There's no fluid in there. It's all leaked out. That's why the top's moving so slowly. Turns out these are actually 13mm, and I threw an old rag down here just in case there's some sort of fluid leakage when I go to remove these lines. So let's see. You can already see some fluid is escaping there. Something's dripping down there, so good thing we put the towel. Okay, so I've already got the blue side off, but as I'm taking the red one off, take note of the sequence of the crush washers. So we got the thick copper one there in the center, and the one up top. You gotta keep that order when you go to reinstall these. This bolt is very uniquely designed because it has holes drilled in it, and that allows the fluid to pass through. That's what feeds the lines. That's why the crush washers are so important, and that you replace them, because if they're slightly misaligned, the fluid's going to leak out of them, and you really don't want that. Now that the lines are free, all you've got to do is feed them through, and we'll be able to pull out the entire ram assemblies. Should be able to just pull on these lines, feed them through until you get them past this point here, so that the heads of them can be released. There. And there we have it. There's one ram and two rams. Now I just gotta send them out to be rebuilt, and then we'll reinstall them. So there is one last step you've got to do, and that's to release all of the fluid from inside the cylinders. So to do that, before you ship them out, you know, they want these things to be clean. So you just gotta push them, cycle through the motion a couple times, and that pushes all the fluid out. Just gotta do this until there's nothing else coming out of the lines. Should be good. You can see it all drips through the ends here. Put a little bucket here to catch all the fluid.
All right, so it's about 2 weeks later, and we've just gotten our hydraulic rams in from the guy who rebuilt them. So let's get to work on putting them back in. Okay, now that we have the driver's side unwrapped, there's a couple of things to note when we go to reinstall this thing. So this is only for the driver's side. There's going to be what they call a potentiometer arm, and that's this. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. That arm right there. It's like a sort of swinging black lever that goes down here. You can see it moving. That's sort of to tell the car the position of the top. So what you have to do when you reinstall them is make sure that this piece lines up in there. It's gonna click into that open space there. And that's only for the driver's side. You don't have to do it for the passenger side. I'll try to give you guys a better visual of what's going on here. So I've got that bottom part hooked in down there. Then you see that pin is sticking out, and you can see that it wants to make contact with the potentiometer arm. And you can see the slot that's sort of, see if I can point to it, right there. You want to get the pin within there. So you just kind of like got to lift the arm until that falls into place. With that in place, you can go ahead and reinstall your 13mm nuts on top and bottom. So I'll cut this in later, but turns out you can actually move this part up and down to get it into the right position to reattach this arm. So I've done it on this side. I'll show you how it works on this side. If you just apply light pressure, you should be able to slide it back and forth. So you just want to get it so that the arm is able to hook on properly. That done, let's route the hydraulic lines the same way they were before, so we can get them close to that reservoir and install them over there. All through here and to there. Now the driver's side done, we'll repeat the same steps for the passenger side, but remember there's no potentiometer arm here, so it's going to be a little bit simpler. So now that we have the rams back in place, we can reinstall the lines connecting to the reservoir. So the sequence is going to go red and blue, obviously, is labeled there. The passenger side, right side, is going to go on the bottom, followed by the driver's side, which is going to go on top. And the sequence for the washers will go thick washer first, followed by the passenger side hose, then the next washer, the thin washer, followed by the driver's side hose, and then one final washer on top of that. I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So here's how it should look. You kind of sandwich all the pieces together. So again, it goes thick copper washer at the bottom, passenger side next, thin washer, then driver's side red. So it goes there. So I didn't mention it before, but obviously you're going to use the same bolt that you had installed here before with the 2 holes in it. So once you get to this stage, just make sure everything is lined up correctly before you torque everything down, because you really shouldn't be using those washers too many times after they've been torqued once. So now that we have everything connected, the next step is to refill the hydraulic fluid reservoir. And this is the fill hole right here. You'll need a hex head, Allen key, something like that, to remove this bolt. Then you can refill it. And you can see the midpoint is actually right here. But because these cylinders are completely empty, I'm actually going to fill it much higher than that, so that when you cycle the top, the cylinders will fill with fluid. So this next step is going to be hard to show on camera, but I'll do my best. It's really hard to show this one-handed, but this is the fluid that we're going to use, CHF11S. It's pretty standard stuff for German cars for power steering and stuff like that. So what I'm going to use is this little baby syringe to draw up some of that fluid so we can get into that little opening to fill up the fluid. So I've already got a few pumps in there. I'm just going to show you sort of the process that I'm doing here. Just draw it up like that. Hang on, let's go deeper. So that gives you enough in there. And bring it into the opening and squirt that in. All right, so now I've filled this reservoir as high as it'll go without spilling over. I'm gonna have to cycle the top a few times because I know it's going to consume some of that when it fills up the cylinders. So just clear off whatever you have on the bulkhead. I'm going to reconnect all these connectors just so we can see how this functions. and just get them low enough to where I can install these arms, and then I'll cycle the top a couple times. Now with the arms secured back in place, you can just replace these clips right here. They just slide on like that. So next step after getting the cylinders properly in place is to just sort of loosely get the reservoir back into this position, kind of its natural position, but don't tighten everything down because we're gonna have to undo everything. So with it in this position, we can cycle the top a couple times, and that will cause the fluid to enter the lines and cause some of the movement, but then we'll have to refill this one after we cycle the top a couple times. So the reservoir is loosely in place. You lower this part and reconnect the braided connectors here, these guys. So now that I cycled the top a couple times, you can see the fluid is almost empty again because all that fluid went to the lines. So I'm just going to refill it one more time. This is after the second refill. You should get some movement now. It's probably going to be a little bit slow, but let's see. Let's put the top down. So that slam wasn't good, but you can see the top's coming up now. It sounds pretty noisy. It's probably a little bit low. So essentially you'll have to repeat these steps until you got a nice fluid motion of the top. So let's just try that. I've refilled the fluid twice now. So let's see how it works. That's good. Let's try putting it back up. All right, it looks pretty normal. So after running it a few times just to make sure everything's working smooth, we can check the level. It's sort of hard to see on camera, but if I give it a little jiggle, maybe you can see the fluid shake. So it's a little bit above the middle point, but that's good. It's showing it's holding all the fluid inside, no leaks or anything left. So yeah, I'll just put everything back together now. Well, I just took it out for a drive to celebrate. Everything works good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Hope it helped.